Namaskar, all the community members. Friends, after having some insightful discussion with our guest, Christina, on this upcoming lunar eclipse, solar eclipse, the transit, which is going to be taking place in this month, in the month of the May, of Saturn, Rahu, Ketu, Jupiter, and all. So, now we will be talking on the topic of the GAND MOOL Nakshatra. So, guys, just because I was having a discussion with Christina, and what we decided is that we shall be putting out those content which is in line with the mass consciousness. Just because we are headed very close to the lunar eclipse, then the next few days are going to be getting headed towards the solar eclipse. The whole vibe is little bit mysterious. So, and when it comes down to the topic of like Gand Moon Nakshatra, now, this is one such topic regarding which there have been a lot of the negative thing, scary things which have been written over the internet. Like the concern with the Gandmul Nakshatra is that their impact does not only affect your life. Like in the traditional families, it has been believed that because of you being born in a specific nakshatra, charan of that nakshatra, any connected family member of yours might have to face the hit. So, for example, if I'm born with my moon nakshatra be of this specific alignment, so because of me, my mother or my father or my elder brother might be facing the hit. So, there is a lot of the mysteries which are surrounded around it, and coming from a traditional like Hindu family and all, some of the rituals which are done to do the like for pacifying the Gandmul nakshatra, even the process is so tedious. Like for some of the process, the priest has to bring water from the 27 different sources. He has to bring the leaves of the 27 trees, and then he has to perform the ritual. So there is a lot which needs to be understood. I'm so glad that our guest Christina, she agreed to share her insights, her research, her practical finding in her long decades of consulting experience with us. So with that, now let me introduce our guest of the day, Christina.
Namaskar, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for having me back. And I think this is a great topic because we have two different perspectives, I think, that can represent a lot of the community. Like, you're coming from a traditional Hindu family where you have access to all of this. So you, since birth, have had all of these things done, right? And then there's someone like me who comes into this, and I'll just say, spoiler alert, I have some GAND MOOL Nakshatra in my chart. But guess what? I never had any of these rituals done, so I find out, and of course, like the fear sets in. I'm like, oh my gosh, if I was born a long time ago, what would have happened, right? So when you start learning about these things, you can see why these things are said in the ancient text, but you can also see the loss of meaning in translation and how something over time from an oral tradition gets taken from very well meaning, like, let's gather all the leaves of all the nakshatra trees and make a beautiful even a tea. Let's say you were making a tea with all these leaves and you're giving it to the family and say, here, now you have all of the blessings of all the nakshatras, right? Now we're taking that to like this long, tedious task, right? So in that spirit, I wanted to bring some of my research and also, have Nipun weigh in on it with some of the things that he's seen. Because when you come from two different backgrounds, you have different perspectives, and, some things that he thinks about that I don't think about, and some things that I think about that he doesn't think about. And this is why it's really excellent to have a community of Jyotish, people that are from all over the world, because we all have something interesting to bring into this conversation. So let me start with a short chant to Lord Ganesh, as he is our protector and also our guide and a source of wisdom for us in the Jyotish tradition. Vakratanda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakareshu Sarvada. Om Gam Ganapatiye Namaha. Om Aim Saraswatiye Namaha. may Goddess Saraswati be with us in our studies today. So I'm going to start sharing my screen here. Okay, slight delay. And here we go. So our topic today is the GAND MOOL Nakshatras, what's often called the zone of the karmic knot. Now, this is a beautiful picture of all of the nakshatras. And if you look at the center, you see our world, all of our land masses here. And then you also see all of the rashis. And then underneath all of the rashis, you see the pictures of all of the animals and representations of the rashis. And on the very outside of the wheel, you see all of the nakshatras and the different symbols. And if you look at this carefully, you might see some different symbols than we're used to. Like, for example, today we're going to be talking about Mula. And what I noticed right away here is that the lion's tail is shown as a representation of the nakshatra. And here we also have a picture of Lord Vishnu, the sustainer of our universe. So first I want to begin with a short chant to Buddha Graha. And if you don't know the words to these rather difficult shlokas, you could just read them, or you can do a simple chant like I'm going to show right now for Buddha. You can just say, Om Aim Buddhaya Namaha. And for Ketu, Om Ketave Namaha. So a simple mantra could be just made with Om Ketu Ketave Namaha or Om Buddhaya Namaha. Just very simple. We want to honor these energies, whatever level that we're at. And the GAND MOOL Nakshatras. So these are defined as the ending 5 hours of Ashlesha, Jyestha, and Revati, and the beginning 5 hours of Pushya, Mula, and Ashwini. I'm sorry, Ashlesha, Mula, and Ashwini. There's a typo there. And the last pada is also taken sometimes in this calculation. Traditionally, there's also a practice of using the last 3 degrees in 20 minutes and the first 3 degrees in 20 minutes. Some people take the last 4 degrees and the beginning 4 degrees. Now, what I've noticed in any placement like this at the end of a Gandanta point, 29 degrees and a 0 degree, so even a 0 point, 3 or 0.35, like less than 1 degree, those planets tend to have a lot of potency if they're located in these Gandanta points. Now, the last pada of the water signs and the first pada of the fire signs are affected. Now, why I chose this photo of the alchemist is if you see, he's actually performing something that is a ritual that shows on the outer, he's performing a ritual, yes, to maybe convert an element into a different element. But a lot of these drawings show the conversion of the inner process as an external art form, right? So when you have these types of energies, you're in an alchemical process of dissolution and creation. And this gets activated when we have grahas here in the natal chart or in transit over the natal position. So the GAND MOOL nakshatra, when you have a planet there, it's a place in our chart in this lifetime that we must learn to let go and allow for the growth to happen. Now, we could either give up this karmic burden from a past life, or the universe will take it away from us in a forcible manner. Now, this is a sensitive junction in the chart that can bring in highly charged energy forces that shape the intellect and the path of the native as they have a way to channel their past life experience. Now, these are 3 of Mercury's nakshatras transitioning into 3 of Ketu's nakshatras. Now, when you think about this, it seems like a very interesting synergy. But when you look at these 2 grahas, Ketu and Mercury, they actually have planetary friendship. So on the surface, it may seem chaotic. It may seem like 2 different elements are happening here. But if you know, the Panchamahabhutas, if you know about what makes fire and water and the elements, then you can understand what is happening here at these juncture points. So the first juncture point we're going to talk about is Revati and Ashwini, and I'm calling this the journey of a healer. So the symbol of Revati is the fish. And the themes that I've noticed are like moving to a foreign land, traveling over water, mystical dreams and visions, people that love rituals, they practice healing arts, medical experiments, veterinary sciences, longevity studies, caring for the sick and dying, even people that are in the fitness industry, architecture, and of course, weapons experts. Now, this is on the 12-6 axis of the Kalpurush Kundli and in the Pisces Virgo and Revati Chitra Nakshatra axis. And the deities that are in these areas are Pushan, the nourisher, which is the deity on the right. That's the blue colored deity. And then the deity on the left is the Devata of Chitra, which is Vishwakarma, the celestial architect. So, what's your commentary on this one, Nipun?
Yeah, it's like as rightfully said by you, Christina. I have like met lot many people with the influence of the like their prominent planets being placed in the Revati. That yes, like some of them are like working in the navy. Some of them have worked at some point as a sailor. These are the true healers and medical nursing kind of profile. So they actually do justice when they are in these kind of nature of work. And somehow we say this thing that see, again, I might be slightly biased over here, that even in this whole discussion of the like Gand Mool Nakshatra, there are certain nakshatra which could be very poison inflicting with their natural tendency to do that. When it comes down to the innate qualities of the Revati, somehow in my research, in my findings, I have seen these people to be harmless. I'm not seeing these people to be, or like if any of your planets are being placed over there for like creating any major turmoil, major kind of issue in the life. Like rather I would say you're going to be very lucky that if anyone around you who in any capacity takes care of you, having moon or important planets in the Revati. This could be your spouse, in this, your family doctor having the important planets in the Revati, your servants, your mates, or those teachers who train your children. So I mean to say in any capacity. So in this whole discussion, Revati, beyond any doubt, is a natural giver. And yeah, that's what I have to add based on my finding. Yeah.
Yes, you're so right. I can think of actually 2 people that I know, um, and they have moon in Revati, and they love animals. They care for animals. An interesting thing that I also found is they have a prominent kind of like choosing white pets, so white cats and white dogs. I've seen these people adopt. So it's interesting because when you have the moon and you think about Revati and you think about the love for animals, the mind choosing a white dog or a white cat to kind of bring out that Somya, very soft energy that Revati has. And definitely seen a lot of nursing students. And that's why I put veterinary sciences. I had one person that uh, Revati Moon, she was a veterinarian in the past and she left the job because it was too much for her to deal with, to see so many animals die. So, this is one of those Gandanta points where that will be something that these people might have to, encounter in their life. So the next part of this one we're going to go into is the Ashwini. So Ashwini is really has to do a lot with medical marvels. When you know the story about the Ashwini Kumars, who are pictured there on the left. Now the symbol of Ashwini is the horses. And the themes are medical studies like Ayurveda, emerging sciences that combine technology and biology like biotech. This type of field is very Ashwini. The enjoyment of sports and cars, riding motorcycles. I've seen long distance runners and competitive sports people with this position. And this is on our 1-7 axis of the Kalpurush Kundli. So the Aries, sorry, another typo, the Aries Libra Rashi, and that's in the Ashwini and Swati axis. So the Devata of Ashwini is the Ashwini Kumars, the physicians to the gods, and the Devata of Swati is Vayu. And if we know anything about our stories, Lord Hanuman is often called Vayu Putra. So there is some kind of connection with this Ashwini Pada energy of Vayu, of air, of prana. And something interesting I've noticed in different occult traditions, horses symbolize prana in the life force. Now, I have this interesting amulet that I'll show. It's actually a Tibetan amulet, and on the front, it has horses there. And on the back, it has like one of our yantras with different numbers. But this is actually something that's used for people to learn how to do pranayama. So I thought that was pretty interesting because this reminds me a lot of the themes of Ashwini. So what's your observance on this one?
Okay, so Christina, it's like the way it has been explained in some of the classical books which I have read is that out of the four padas or the charan of the Ashwini, the first pada has been slightly written that if a child is born in the moon being in the Ashwini in the first pada, it might be slightly sensitive for the father of the child. But for the rest of the three charan, second pada, third pada, fourth pada, is generally considered as good, that it gives success. Like the way, beyond any doubt, as rightfully said by you, that horses and the Ashwini Kumars are very strongly connected with it. So, it's like there are like certain ways, and for someone to become a doctor and being in the medical field and all, the planet Sun can give you prominent planets in your sixth, and the 12th can give you, like, Revati can also make you a good nourisher and a healer. But when we talk about magic of the healing, where you are capable enough of performing some miracle, like the way we say some of the shamans, some of those people who have that healing power in them, so that generally comes from the Ashwini. And just because people have this obsession of looking young from their age, so that generally comes very natural to people who have prominent planets in the Ashwini. Generally, like the way you have said, that fascination and interest in the sports, cars, everything. And along with that, the good part about the Ashwini people is that they somehow are very good in remembering the route as well. You take them on one path, on one route, and you leave them, they will remember the path and they will get back to it. So they will not even forget the path, forget the route as well. And like the way some people also say this thing that with the Ashwini, like for example, one of the figure from our history is like Ashwathama was born with the prominence of the Ashwini nakshatra, and also the stars which are like each nakshatra constitutes of, that also give vital information. So in the Ashwini nakshatra, it constitutes of the three stars. So we generally say this thing that like any of the combination of the number three, numerology, three is connected with Jupiter, or we say this thing that in any of the like 21st year of the age, This could be a 30th year of the age. So any of the prominence of number 3 also supports them, helps them. And yes, beyond any doubt, Ashwini is ruled by Ketu. Ketu has got everything to do with the instincts, with your feelings, how you feel about something. So if any of the important planets are placed in the Ashwini, so beyond any doubt, these people could be pioneer. These people have that magical healing power, which will come with the energy of that planet, which will automatically get attached to it. So this could be that if your Jupiter is placed in the Ashwini, and this person is going to be actually giving blessing to anyone, those blessings will work. For if your Mercury is placed over here, so this person will be very quick, like where someone who can read and finish many books in a very comparatively less span of time. So quickness, agility, healing power is all. And yes, as rightfully said by you, Lord Hanuman, the Vayu, no, not sorry, Ashwini Kumars, the physician to the gods, are connected with it. So yes.
Mhm. Yes. And another thing that I noticed about Ashwinis is they have a great sense of humor. They're kind of they can be a little bit, like we say, mischievous, like they like to crack jokes. And I think it's an interesting part of their personality, mostly because I'm thinking about a couple of people that I've seen their charts. One of my mentors in my Ayurvedic, training actually had prominent Ashwini in her chart. And I was like, this is the one I'm studying with. She has Ashwini. This is where I want to be. And lo and behold, I find out she was an expert in rejuvenation therapies. And she actually used to have a lot of clients that were in Bollywood that sought out her therapies. So these are the kinds of energies that you get with Ashwinis. They tend to look very young as well, because, the influence of Mars on them. People don't think of Mars as a planet that makes you look young, but from what I've seen, a lot of people that have prominent Ashwini tend to look very young for their age. So the next one we're going to move on to is probably, I find, the most interesting of the two. I'm sorry, the three Gandanta points is the Ashlesha Maga Gandanta. So the symbol of Ashlesha is the Naga, the divine serpent, which we have here in the middle. Now, the themes are mysticism and media, and I'm saying social media, writing, acting, mind manipulation and information technology, gem sales, hidden occult sciences like Tantra, Kundalini, rituals, things like witchcraft here in America are very popular. And this falls into the domain of Ashlesha, also homeopathy and toxicology. Now, when we think about Ashlesha, it is the, serpents, right? And there is a poison, but there is also a mastery that can come of poisons, and that is the domain of Ashlesha. And this is falling in our 410 axis of the Kalprush Kundli. So it's that Cancer Capricorn Rashi axis and the Ashlesha and Shravana nakshatra axis. Now, the devata of Ashlesha is the Nagas, the divine serpents. And the Naga clan is something that's actually found in many parts of the world. I've seen in the continent of Asia, not just India, but there's also a famous Naga clan that's like a headhunter clan that still thrives in remote parts of northern Asia. And then also in Mexico, there is a temple of the serpent. Now, the Devata of Shravana is the Vamana avatar of Lord Vishnu. And that story in itself has a lot of amazing mystical teachings. And on the left here, I have a picture of what is the caduceus, the doctor's staff, is actually taken from the Ida and the Pingala and the Shushumna merging over the chakras. And at the very bottom, we see that three-coiled snake. This is all the domain of Ashlesha. So what's your observations, Nipun?
Yeah, Christina, it's very good summary which you wrote for Ashlesha. It's just like that. This is one nakshatra with always like which always baffles me, because frankly speaking and personally, I know lot many people with their moon being in the Ashlesha. I get along very well with them, and I have not seen them demonstrating any of the qualities the way it has been exactly. It has been written in some of the good books of Vedic astrology. So that does not justify that how could be there such a big contradiction, because they come across to be and they demonstrate some of the very nice nurturing qualities of the Cancer sign, like whom I have personally known. Beyond any doubt, snakes and serpents, which are chiefly connected with the Ashlesha, plays a very important role in our Hindu pantheon, even for the meditation, spirituality practitioners and all. So over there as well, the Kundalini is like somehow all the seven chakras, seven layer of consciousness, all of that is attached and being seen on the level of that, okay, in which level your energy is right now, your consciousness is reverberating there. So snakes, the serpentine energy plays a very important role. What could be one of the slight feature of the Ashlesha could be that just because of the toxicity and the poison which is connected with it. So let's say, for example, if you have like some of the important planets being placed over here in the Ashlesha, so somehow the relationship or the house rulership might make you go through some sort of, it's like this could be humiliating kind of experiences, or where like there is a lot of the opposition and resistance, where you have to swallow a lot many things, which like is not very sweet. So this could come in the form of adjustments, this could come in the form of the compromises and all. But again, if I were to say, I will not attach Ashlesha in any way with betrayal, with something to do with all the toxicity the way it has been mentioned. And these people could be good nurturer, like nourisher. And yes, for the prominence of the Ashlesha, worship of Lord Shiva is generally seen as a good sign. Like if there is like any of the pent up nervous energy, any of the emotions which you are dealing with, you have that concern of anxiety and lot many things. So I would say that the worship of the Lord Shiva, like whether you have the your moon being in the Ashlesha nakshatra, whether you have the Kal Sarp Yog or any of those kind of combination, anything to do with the snake or the serpentine energy, if it comes into the picture, so Lord Shiva, Mahamrityunjaya mantra, getting a Rudra Abhishek done, keeping the Pradosh Vrat, all these are the best way of dealing with the prominence of the Ashlesha. Like generally
Yes,
it has been seen, yeah,
yes.
generally it has been seen people who become doctors, who prescribe medicines, they could also be under the guise of the Ashlesha only.
Yes, yes. I think pharmaceutical technologies could also fall into this. And the reason why I mentioned mind manipulation and information technology is because on the negative side, I know a lot of our classical texts mention that, oh, Ashleshas are the types that will play mind games with people. But what I think this alludes to is the power of the Ashlesha native to, and I've seen it mostly with their eyes. They have these very beautiful eyes that tend to be hypnotic. Like I
Right.
can think of one Bollywood actress who did the Najina movie. Do you know Terry? I think her name is Terry Dushman, and she played this character that became a snake. Essentially, she became a snake and she did this really enchanting serpent dance. And she's a famous Bollywood actress and she had prominent Ashlesha. And she used her Ashlesha energy to create this amazing energy in the role that is still talked about today in the Bollywood scene. So there can be a way to use these tools uh, to help people heal through your art. So people that have a podcast, right? This is also the domain of Ashlesha. Maybe they have a podcast about homeopathy or toxicology or these types of secret practices like kundalini tantra. All these things that are becoming very popular in our culture would fall into the domain of Ashlesha. So with Maga, we're getting into Pada 1, and I'm saying this is a energy where you want to recognize your own divinity, but also be humble. Because we know that the symbol of Maga is the throne, which is the seat of power. Now, it's not just the throne of, like a king or an emperor, but it's our own seat of power in our own world, right? And the themes for the Maga people tend to be a lot of settling of ancestral debts and karmas. I've seen people with government, servers having this position, people that serve the people of a nation. Maybe it's in like, America here, we have like senators or people that are working in local government jobs that are helping their community. And then we also see themes of lineage being very important for our Maga natives. Now, this falls into our 511 axis of the Leo Aquarius Rashis and the Maga Nakshatra here and Danishta. Now, the Devata of Maga is the Pitris, the ancestors, what we call the first people, and I've heard it referred to as the Watchers, which is this tradition that comes from like the more mystical Christian angelic realm. They call these the Watchers, but it's all the same group of people that we're talking about. These are the ancient progenitors, our ancestors. Now, the Devata of Danisha is actually a group of 8 called the Ashtavasus, which are the 8 lords that serve Indra. And the 8 lords represent our 5 Panchamahabhutas, so the 5 elements, plus the sun, the moon, and the nakshatras. And here we have the Ashtavasus here on the left. And then on the right, this is an image I thought kind of represented maybe somebody that is trying to communicate with their ancestors. Curious to hear what you have to say about this Pada nakshatra.
Okay, so Christina, it's like in the classical books for the Magha as well. So the way it has been written that the first two padas might be slightly sensitive, vulnerable for the parents' well-being. Although the if you will do the remedies done and get the dosha pacified, then it does not cause any of the concern. And the rest of the two, like the first pada, second pada, might be slightly sensitive for the parents, but the third pada, fourth pada is generally considered as good for the prominence, for the attainment of position. And see, the good part about the Magha nakshatra is that out of all the nakshatras, like the way you mentioned that slightly with the nakshatra before it, like which we were discussing. So over there, the eyes plays an important role, the snake eyes, Ashlesha and all. With the
Yeah.
Magha as well, Magha is very easy to spot in a crowd. So generally with the Magha prominence, their chin and their neck part, you will find it to be little bit heavier. Like I still remember there's a friend of mine, in his case, throughout the college years, we used to make fun of him. Why do you walk like this? Why do you walk like this? So his neck and his this part was slightly bit heavier. And when I gotten into astrology and I remember seeing his chart, like he was Leo rising with moon also there in the first house, and he was Maga both from the ascendant and from the moon. Now the good thing is that, see, this is where the beauty of the astrology and blending things comes into picture. So for example, you come across a chart where even in the panchang the moon nakshatra happened to be kritika and the tithi happened to be the shashti tithi, sixth tithi. So both are some way making a connection with the Lord Kartike. Same is the way. So if you come across like Magha as the prominence, and then this the person has got, or person is in a situation where he's aspiring for any political position, a family in a big family business, the father has to assign the successor of the business, and out of the 4 children who are the eligible candidates, one of the son has got planets in the Magha. So there is a high possibility that the power of attorney will go to him. So Magha, beyond any doubt, when it comes down to for the position, influence, recognition, and everything. See, the beauty with the Magha is that the universe conspires to put you out there. It's just like that something will happen, and like even in certain cases, your opponent will get into issue, into trouble of some natural causes and all, and the power will automatically be shifted to you. So in the case of the Magha, again, it's the Ketu energy. More than the, see, Ashwini, the same. The nature conspires in Ashwini to make you a healer. So through your hands, the healing work. nature conspires for the Mula people to put them into transformation or some
Mm.
sort of chaotic kind of event. But nature conspires for the Magha to give him something. So this is what the beauty of the Magha is, that it's not only like the ways there are like certain nakshatra which has got this reputation, like for example, Purva Falguni. So the Falguni nakshatras are generally considered as more lucky than their actual deserving talent. So they might have talent of five, but they might be getting the returns of the seven or eight. So that's what the beauty of the Magha is, that the whole nature conspires for giving them the power, position, influence in the life. Now, with the Magha, the ancestral blessing, staying tied and close to your ancestors, to your family tradition, to the family ritual, like feeling taking pride in your culture becomes very important. And only if someone with a prominent Magha person knows about this fact, there is no limit to which he cannot, like he can achieve many things. The only thing which is expected out of this person is that honor your tradition, honor your culture, respect your ancestors, and life will give you everything.
Yes, that was beautiful. Yeah, I like how you said it's conspiring for them, because a lot of MAGA people, from when I've seen the charts with prominent MAGA, and I'll tell you, I've seen the charts of some siblings that all had MAGA, and I thought that was really interesting. You rarely see something like that where all of the siblings had MAGA. I even saw another group of siblings that both had Venus in Maga, and these were two brothers, and they actually were thinking about doing a business together. And they're not sure if they wanted to go into a business having to do with genealogy or having to do with cryptocurrency, which is really interesting because that's very K2. That they had this connection where they're thinking about doing a business. They both have Maga and they both have Venus in Maga. So I can only imagine, and these are young men, so I can only imagine what they're going to be like when they get older. So when you see things like that, as you've said before, your clients teach you so much about astrology when you look at the charts and you start to see these positions. And this is why it's really important for people to have some kind of time for prayer or meditation daily, because you really start to learn the most about Jyotish when you're not actually practicing it, but when you're meditating. This is what I found, or you're having your quiet time at the end of the night or in the beginning of the day when you're trying to meditate. It's when all these thoughts come in, you're thinking like, wow, that's what Maga is really about. It's this is why, our sages said to have some kind of spiritual practice. So now we're going to get to the last of the Gandanta points. And I feel like this one is the one that is the most feared. This is the one where people, tend to have a lot of kind of negative ideas about. But when we look at Jyestha Mula Gandanta, it's really about becoming the elder and becoming the best, right? Because the symbol of Jyestha is an amulet. And, I love amulets and things like that. And I'm sure a lot of your audience loves amulets. It's part of our Jyotish tradition. And here in the middle here is an amulet for Lord Indra. And if you look, it's a two-sided amulet. This is exactly the type of power and symbolism that is Jyestha. You know, the amulet is shown because it's something that you can have as a good luck charm. Maybe you're struggling for this position and you know that it's going to be there, but it's going to take you 10 years. Well, this is the struggle of the Jyestha Mula Gandanta. It's the struggle for upward mobility, rising to the top of a chosen field in society and reaping the rewards. Because, see, Jyestha is translating as becoming the elder and the best, and you don't become the best overnight. It's a lot of hard work. Some people may have it happen overnight, but it's a different combination, right? But also, I put it can get lonely at the top, because a lot of times you see, you have to have a lot of time alone. And when you look at the stories of the mythology, you know, Lord Indra lives at the top of a mountain, isolated. And there's a reason for that. Now, this falls into our 2-8 axis of the Kalpurush Kundli with the Taurus and Scorpio Rashis. And this is the Rohini and Jyestha nakshatra axis. Now, the Devata of Rohini is Lord Brahma, the Prajapati, the original progenitor and the creator. And here I found this interesting picture of Lord Brahma here, actually with his fifth head, which you don't really see Brahma with the 5. You see him with the 4 heads after he lost 1 head. Then we also have the Devata of Jyestha here on the right, which is Lord Indra, who is the king of the Devas. A lot of people forget that, and they think that Indra is a dark deity, but he's actually the king of the gods. So with that, I'd love to hear what your experience and recommendations are for people with this Gandanta point here.
Yeah. See, when we talk about out of the nakshatras being ruled by Mercury, which falls into the category of the Gandanta. So with Ashlesha, the problem comes with the poison which they have to deal with as a form of the soul being intertwined and connected with the past. Like the way the astral cord is still connected with the past, but what it is fueling you, it is fueling you, supplementing you with something which is very poisonous, and you have to deal with that. When it comes down to Jyestha, like in certain cases I have seen in the modern day world, in the corporate world, where you have to secure your position, and no matter come what may, you have to opt for any strategy, anything in your defense to secure your position. So I would say that majority of the planets in the Jyestha are capable enough of giving you results in a way that in certain cases you might have to deal with what you call that the protest against you, or like this could be people scheming, plotting behind your back. But the beauty of the Jyestha is that it can give you that much power. Like there are like certain nakshatras which are like so formidable. Like when we talk about Adra, we talk about Jyestha, these are not like very easy to mess with kind of energy. So with the Jyestha, in certain cases, people are in awe of them. They are like afraid of them. They might be plotting things behind the back, but it would be very difficult to go head on and then challenge them their authority. And yes, I have generally seen the nakshatra which will come after this in our discussion, that might be a matter of concern. But with the Jyestha, I have not seen much of the problem. It's just like that in certain cases, like the way, for example, when we were talking about the Maga, so things come to them through the family ancestry and all. With the Jyestha, the diplomacy, the strategy. In the modern age, all the politicians, what they are doing, they create a hype before the election. They sell those propagandas and think, and just in a way or somehow they maintain their position and all. And this is what the beauty of the Jyestha, which comes natural to them. See, when we talk about the other 3 nakshatras which falls in the category of the Gand Mool, they are ruled by Ketu. When you talk about Ketu, you are subjected to the mercy of the nature. You do not have much of the control over there. But Mercury is our own buddhi, our own scheming, our own plotting. We are somehow capable enough with our rationality, with our mind to give it any direction. So yes, honestly speaking, I have not seen out of all the nakshatras being ruled by Mercury, because now we are headed to the end of it. So out of all the 3 Mercury nakshatras, like Revati, can actually the nourishment comes to them from the past, those healing qualities to nurture. With Ashlesha, they might have to suffer in terms of they might be very loving, but some sort of poison coming into them because of the planet which is placed over there. It has to deal with that. But when it comes down to Jyestha, oh my God, like these could be those people more like who are being seen as, oh my God, he's so conniving. But still, no one can challenge his authority. He's still sitting there, and no one has that guts to come head on and challenge the authority and position. And again, with Jyestha, it's not about that you are being left on the mercy of the nature. That is Ketu. Mercury is your own mind, your own scheme, your own plotting to think for your own advantage, your own good. So yeah, Jyestha I've generally seen in the modern day context. Jyestha can give you everything. not only it will give you, but you will be able to maintain it as well. In terms of the spirituality, in terms of the, what do you call that, where you have to, yeah, in terms of spirituality, Jyestha might be creating a burden, because the letting go becomes very difficult for nakshatras like Jyestha. It becomes very difficult for them. So the tendency, like it's a, if I'm not wrong, it's a Daruna nakshatra. So it's like a very ferocious kind of nakshatra. So with the Jyestha, it's like, forgive, let go becomes very difficult. So for these nakshatra prominent people, so if someone has done any harm to them, they will look for a chance to get back. So in terms of the spirituality, Jyestha could be a blockage, but for the modern day and age, for attainment of position, power, getting wealth and all, Jyestha is one of the best nakshatra.
Yes, yes, it's a Tikshna nakshatra. I made a
Yes,
little cheat sheet. I'll
yes,
have to upload this one day, but it's all of the things that you need to know about all of the nakshatras and all of their rulers. Just
yes,
like, so you know all these things. When you know that it's a Tikshna nakshatra, you're going to know that there's going to be that quality. But you know what you said about Jesta is really important. A lot of these people just kind of give off that vibe of power. That's what I've noticed with Jesta people with these placements. I can think of one chart where I saw that this person was actually very, very good at PR, and they were top of the class in their PR. And then they ended up being, in a very high position very quickly, and they were constantly, uh, telling me that other people were causing trouble for them because there was a lot of jealousy because of the level of achievement that they had. So this is something I've seen with the Jastas. It's more like they're getting more energy aimed at them because of their accomplishments. So the last one here is the Mula Pada 1, and I'm calling this from chaos to stillness because that's really something important for the Mula native to learn. Because Mula, when we look at this, it's the galactic center, right? It's the black hole at the center of our galaxy, and
yes.
it's
You give it, yeah.
Sagittarius A. It's right there in our galaxy. It's like the as above so below, just right there. And then we have the symbol of Mula is a bunch of tied roots or a lion's tail. And a lot of the themes with Mula I've seen having to do with like a, ghostly phenomenon, a lot of loss, anger, and grief, but also extreme career success, especially in any kind of natural healing path. I've seen a lot of people with Mula that are like herbalists, occultists, Ayurvedic practitioners, traditional Chinese medicine people that are into poisonous herbs. I've also seen with this Mula placement, and this falls in our axis of the 3-9 of this Gemini and Sagittarius Rashi, and also with the Ardra and Mula Nakshatras. So this tends to be the most severe, I would say, of the whole GAND MOOL set, because we are dealing with the Devata of Ardra, which is Lord Rudra, which is a form of Lord Shiva, and then the Devata of Mula, which is goddess Nairati, which is said to be a form of goddess Kali. And it's really interesting that we have these two deities, Shiva and Kali, who are, our Adi Devatas, right? These are like the very highest forms of God. And they even say that Kali resides in the center of Mula Nakshatra. And, when you think about that, that's a very deep, teaching in itself, because the word nairati actually means a state of disorder or chaos or also decay. And she's also referred to as a Rudra. And another interesting tie-in that I found is one of the names of Makali is Bhima Nadini, she who has the fierce roar. And this is usually associated with these two nakshatras of Ardra and Mula. Now on the left here we have Lord Rudra. And on the right here, we have a picture of goddess Nairati. And if you see goddess Nairati, her vehicle or vahana is actually a man. And we don't see this in any of the other nakshatras. We see animals. So I thought that was a really interesting thing. One of my Jyotish teachers, who doesn't speak very good English, by the way, told me, Nairiti rides a man. Think about this. So I've been thinking about it. So there's probably going to be more to come on that. But I'm curious to see what you think about this portion here, Nipun.
Okay. Christina, it's like I have a kind of a, it's like one word to remember the trait of all the nakshatras. That's how I started to memorize it the very first time when I started learning about nakshatras from the book of amazing Prash Trivedi ji. So
Yes.
yeah, so see the thing is, see, like the way when we talk about the three nakshatras being ruled by the Rahu. So
Mhm.
Rahu manifest its addict and rebel energy through Ardra. Rahu manifests its genius, illusionary qualities through Sadbhisha. And Rahu demonstrated socialite, multi-millionaire qualities through Swati. Same is the way. When people talk about Ketu, they get very scared and all. Oh my God, my Ketu Dasha is getting activated. Is it gonna cut things for me or gonna completely cut the house signification where it is going to be sitting, this and that? So see, generally what happen is that all the three nakshatras of the Ketu, which we have discussed over here, I already mentioned when it comes down to the Ashwini. So the mystery and the nature, like the mystical powers of the nature, conspires to make you a healer. You do not even know what's happening. Even like you give a regular candy to people, it works like a medicine. And like a placebo effect, people get healed up. That is the power of Ketu, which works through the Ashwini. When it comes down to Magha, oh my God, it's like nature is conspiring to give you power. The Mula is the problematic kind of area. Over here, it's not only about, like, I'm sure people who must be watching it, for a lot many people, it might be their moon in the Mula and they would be listening to it. But any planet being placed in the Mula, it has got this capacity that when it gets activated, it can completely cut through things. It can completely break through things. There is a very, very religious and spiritual person. I see him as like my guru because like he is a very like very much awakened, initiated into the bhakti of the Lord Hanuman. And in his chart, like I happen to see his chart. So being a Capricorn Lagna, seventh lord being Cancer moon is there in the 12th house in the Mula nakshatra. So in his case, like the minute his like moon mahadasha started, like his marriage got divorced out of nowhere, and it was a bitter kind of divorce. It was a bitter kind of accusation, allegation, and because of that marriage divorce settlement, a lot of the things got out of your hand. But the thing was that it actually awakened him towards the path of the spirituality, doing the bhakti and doing all that thing. So yes, with the Mula, beyond any doubt, this is a nakshatra of the chaos. This is a nakshatra of the destruction. And if you have any of the important planets being placed over here, and again, see, Krishna, this is where the beauty of the astrology comes,
Mhm.
because people who have got extraordinary destiny to fulfill, in their case you will not find just a promise coming in from one area. You will see that happening from multiple kind of direction. So let's say, for example, you're born at the time of the eclipse kind of yoga, full moon yoga, new moon yoga, and that too with the involvement of the Mula. Then it will become much more powerful. It will become much more threatful, that which you have to deal with, you have to handle with it. So yes, with the Mula, I would say that for these people, even the worship of the ferocious gods shall be considered. Like this could be Lord Shiva, this could be Goddess Kali, this could be Lord Kal Bhairava, and like whenever like this is getting activated. For example, if like based on if your moon also, like if your moon is also placed in this nakshatra. So obviously that goes without saying that moon will be having a rulership, like the Cancer sign must be falling in somewhere. So then you have to be very careful, because if your moon is placed in the Mula nakshatra where the Cancer sign is falling, so whenever like your this moon dasha will get activated, Ketu dasha will get activated. So those signification of that house might suddenly go through kind of break and all, because the Mula, the Sagittarius sign for the Cancer, it falls in the sixth house. So yes, when it comes down to the energy of the Mula, there is a lot of the transformation, there's a lot of the chaos, and it's just like that. My recommendation for people, in order to deal with the Mula kind of energy, apart from the devotion, chanting, bhakti, which they will do, inculcating that habit of charity, donation will become very important. Letting go will become very important, and especially if your moon is placed in the, or any planet which is placed in the like in the Sagittarius, in the Mula nakshatra, and wheresoever the houses goes, like for example, if moon is placed in the Mula, wheresoever the Cancer sign is placed in the house, regarding that signification of that house, always be a giver, always be a, like like, don't protect it, feel attached with it too much, because it is somewhat, it will be taken away, snatched away from you. Now again, see, all those people who would be watching this, so guys, I don't mean that I gave one random example of the divorce and separation, so it's not going to be getting valid in everyone's chart. For these major prediction, we have to take into consideration what is happening in the D9 chart, what is the state of the Dara Karaka. So my objective is not to scare someone. All what I'm trying to say that out of all the six nakshatras today which we discussed, Mula is a very sensitive energy. Like even it constitutes of the 11 stars. So yeah, the cycle of the 11 also repeat in their life. So after every, like, this could be 11th year of the life, then the 22nd year of the life, 33rd year of the life might also witness some sort of significant events in the life. The maturity of the Ketu, like 48, will become very important. Like Rahu Ketu return will become very important. So all these kind of events will play a very significant role. And I always say this thing: if like your moon is placed in the Mula nakshatra, so these kind of things happens a lot with these people, like being a victim of circumstances, any of the allergic reaction to any medicine, any of the animal bite, you went there somewhere and you got stranded, something happened. So charities, bhakti, and being dedicated to one East Devata will become very, very important. And Ayurveda, natural things, organic things, refrain from too much of the processed food or artificial kind of lifestyle. It will never ever work for you. And again, especially for those people who have their moon in the Mula Nakshatra. So wheresoever the, based on your Lagan, based on your ascendant, wheresoever the Cancer sign is falling in, always be a giver in the matters of that house where Cancer sign is falling for you. So yeah, that's,
Yes.
and yes, it's like
Yes.
any of those times, like when nature is unstable. Like for example, we are in those kind of 2 weeks, like when the lunar eclipse and the sixth planetary conjunction in March 29th. So whenever nature is sensitive, you have to be at guard. So when I say you have to be at guard, don't take a leap of faith. Don't commit to someone if you are being in a new kind of situation. So always follow caution, care, take time, discuss with people around you, then give your final note. Whenever nature is sensitive, you are the one who is the most prone. That's what I can say. Now, again, this can
Yeah.
happen for good as well. This can happen for bad as well. It's like something happened and you got the job. Something happened and you met your love. Something happened and the inheritance came to you. So when I say sensitive, it can work both ways.
Yeah. I'm thinking about somebody that actually I've seen a chart, Moon and Mula conjunct Rahu and Jupiter in the fifth house for a Leo Lagna.
Okay, okay, okay.
Imagine that person, right? They are a person that has gone through so many changes in their life. Their first marriage ended and it was very bitter, kind of like you're telling this story. The ending was very bitter. And what he got out of that, though, the religion that he began to practice as a result of that first wife, he still practices now and he thanks her for it. So it's a really interesting way that it worked out for this person. He also, transformed his life several times, went through different careers. And his wife now actually has an affinity for Makali. So it's really interesting how it works out for some of these natives, because maybe they have this experience where they're forced to, end something in their life, but the product that comes from it is some kind of upgrade, you can say, in their reality. So Mula people, honestly, I think Mula is a really interesting nakshatra, and I personally love all the Ugra Devatas. So when I started learning about Mula, I thought, wow, this is a really deep nakshatra that there's a lot more to than just this kind of scary deity, right? So now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about a chart example where we can take a look at somebody that has some positions that we mentioned today and how it manifested in their life. So when Nipun and I originally were talking, he was talking about, the Bermuda Triangle, right? Well, this is the chart of the guy that actually made up the name the Bermuda Triangle. Now, he was a writer that became a PR agent, and then he focused especially only in paranormal writing. And he had been approached to write an article for this magazine talking about this anomaly in the water. And he thought, well, I'm going to call it the Bermuda Triangle. And it stuck. I mean, it created this whole kind of genre of this type of mysterious writing and fiction. And this was in the 60s. So he's kind of one of those people that pioneered that art form in our modern times. Now, when you look at his chart, he has Sun, Moon, and Venus all together. Now, we don't know what the exact birth time is. So we're just using the planets where
Yeah.
they were at that day, right? So
Yes.
when you look at this chart and you see that he has Mercury in Jyestha, Pada 4 was operating that day. And if you look at that position in 12th from the moon, you know, you would think this person is going to have a knack for creating stories. And he wrote a book called American Indian Myths and Mysteries. He wrote a book called Invisible Horizons, which was based on like mysterious circumstances in the seas, the strange world of animals and pets, the curious world of twins, and the wide world of magic. You look at this chart, and you can see how the Mula and the Jesta, the mysterious nature, is kind of operating. Do you have any comments on this chart, Nipun?
No, first of all, even looking at the face, I can see a mysterious face.
Yeah.
I always do the face reading as well, because
Yeah.
whenever any of those chart comes to me, see, I'm telling you, it's like
Mhm.
Christina, it's like it's very amazing that how the planets speak through you. It's like your
Yeah.
face, your energy, your vibe, everything you can get it. So, and yes, yes, you said right, because from the moon, that was a very strong kind of assessment, that from the moon, Mercury is in the 12th and it is in the Scorpio. And yes, if your Rahu is in the Kumbha, had it been Sat Bisha, I could have still it might have taken him only to the technology and all. But yeah, if it is the Pur Bhadrapada, like with the
Mhm.
god as the Ajay Kapada and all, so yes, you can fairly see that the whole chart is aligned in that specific kind of direction. So yes.
Mhm. Yeah, I thought you would like this one. And the face reading is like the icing on top of it, right? You can see
Yeah.
from this picture there's definitely a
No,
very
the thing is,
heavy
he's
energy.
a good looking guy. It's just like that.
Yeah,
I'm seeing that paranormal energy coming in from the face.
right. Yeah, he looks like your quintessential paranormal writer. This is the guy. So if you want to know who came up with the Bermuda Triangle, we covered it today here.
Yeah, and it's like I forgot to mention this thing. Like in some people, even in Christianity, on one of the day they put a mark over here on the shoulder, right? On sorry, on the forehead.
Oh
On
yeah.
the forehead.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yes.
I guess Marco Rubio, he also does that. Like he was addressing the press one day, and he had
Uh-huh.
this cross symbol over here. So yeah, it's
Hmm.
like like I observe all these things a lot because I remember when I was going to library a couple of days back, and I saw this girl on that same day only. She was half this, and the way she was walking. So yeah, I always observe things around me, and yes,
Yeah, that's a really interesting observation too. I was actually raised in the Catholic Church, so we had to do this, and this was actually the only time that I thought something cool was happening. Was they get these ashes and
yes,
they
yes,
anoint you with the ash,
yeah.
but this is like Hinduism, what
Yeah,
we do
yeah.
with
No,
our
no, no.
puja.
The thing is, when I saw Marco Rubio, it's like I guess it was Marco Rubio only. So it's like
Yeah,
generally when you are in that kind of position, you see,
yeah,
even in India now, what's happening is that somehow people, when they took that tilak in their forehead, they don't do it. It's like they feel that okay, people will judge us that we are very religious or orthodox, traditional, conservative. Honestly speaking, when I saw Marco Rubio flaunting that, I was very proud. Like
yeah.
wow, he's so devout to his religion, to his religious practices. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like I'm on that, and that was the very first time when I did a research on that because I did not know that because I thought it's only the Indians in our Hinduism. It's only in the Hinduism we put that tilak on the forehead. That was the very first time I got to know that even in like Christianity and all, the like people are very devout. They
Yeah.
do that. Yes.
Yes, that's amazing. Yeah, I think that's a really important observation for our community to kind of do in their own lives too, because you're seeing more people do this again. Like it stopped for a long time. People were embarrassed to, wear a tilak or, be
Yes.
in America and be a Hindu. And, you have all these rituals. And, one of my teachers, he would come in every day and he would have his ash here. And one day I saw he didn't have it. And I was like, did you not do your puja today? And he's like, it's so obvious, right? And I think when you see something like this, it kind of gives you another layer of the person, that there is something spiritual working, and the person that's going to go out there like Marco Rubio and be in the world and just be like, yeah, so what, I have this ash on my forehead, can we move on with the meeting now?
Yes.
He's just talking, living his life, right?
No, no, I honestly speaking, I like this whole cabinet of the people he has selected Donald Trump. I like everyone. Like this could be Kash Patel, this could be all those people in his cabinet. I
A
love
lot
it.
of personality. Yeah, and this goes back to MAGA. When you're a MAGA person, you select the people around you. There is that quality where a lot of MAGA people get to pick their crew, right? They get to pick the people
Yes,
underneath them.
yes,
And most of the times you'll see MAGA people, they're not picking people that are like them. They're picking people that have a big personality that represent all different types of, paths of life. That's what I've noticed with MAGA people. They love the variation. But the one thing in common is that they all will work really hard to provide a service for that community. So the next chart that we're going to have is another one that you mentioned, which is Edgar Casey. He's a super fascinating, case study, because as well with this one, we have a birth time and it was rated a C. But if we look, at the chart using, Jyotish and, what we would call a simple birth time rectification to kind of demystify that for people that may be new, or, they hear about this birth time rectification. How do you do it? Well, some of it has to do with the other elements and parameters of Jyotish, which have to do with looking at, a prashna, or you're looking at the different events in the person's life to determine if that is the true ascendant. And when we're looking at someone like Edgar Casey, his ascendant is in a Maga Pada 1, and that definitely fits a K2 type of personality on him. And you look at that seventh house. I mean, look at all those planets. And when you see that, it's like you can almost superimpose that K2 right on top of his head, and all of the planets going down like his center column. Like he's just getting all of this energy coming through him. And that's really what you get with somebody that has a Ketu Maga ascendant. And then also something, that isn't traditionally talked about is a moon conjunction with the Neptune.
Neptune.
Yes. And what I've seen with a moon conjunction with Neptune, or even Venus with Neptune, in this case, the moon conjunct Neptune, he was in a dream state when he channeled methods of healing, history, and future events, right? And you look at that and you can see that he was a divine channel. Now, what's another interesting observation of the chart is Arun, or Uranus, was transiting Ashlesha Pada 4 at the time of his birth. And we also have a Jupiter in Mula in what would be like a Pada 3. And with that cluster of planets, we have Venus with Saturn, Mercury, and Rahu. These are all planetary friends, and they're aspecting Ketu. And as we know from our stories, Shukracharya had the gift of Sanjeevani. So it's like he's downloading this Sanjeevani and giving it out to the public. He was known as the sleeping prophet. And what's interesting about Casey is he wanted to be a preacher since he was a child and was said to speak to his grandfather's spirit. And he had many visions and reported seeing angels and other worldly creatures. And one that told him that sleeping on his school books would bring him the ability to memorize information. He also had a near-death experience where he drowned and he was pronounced dead. And the last interesting fact about him was that he predicted in the future that there would be a 16 to 20 degree pole shift, which would cause floods, the eruption of volcanoes, and erratic weather patterns. And the last thing I'll mention about him is in the Punchang, he was born on a Ravivar, and we have Chaturthi Tithi working. Now, if you look at where the sun is at, it is in his 8th house. This is definitely a very interesting chart study. So I'm curious to see what your observations are on this one, Nipun.
Yeah, Christina, you already made very good assessments. So yeah, because for me, it's like what I have known about Edgar Casey and the kind of reputation. See, the thing is, you these days people like they pay so much money to get a branding, to get an image. But imagine from decades back, he has that reputation. Even before I knew his name, I just know about, because Sadhguru in a lot of his videos used to talk about, the sleeping prophet, the sleeping prophet. So I knew this thing, that in his case, for this person to live up to his this reputation, Pisces energy will be prominent in some way or another way. And see, being a Leo rising, and the ascendant Lord has gone to the eighth house over here in the Pisces energy. And yes, even in the like Aquarius, the concentration of the planets, and his moon nakshatra seems to be 20 degrees. So it's Bharni. It's a Bharni nakshatra. He's born on a like moon being in the Bharni nakshatra. If you look at the fifth house, so people who do these kind of channelings, you will see that in their fifth house, there will be some sort of prominence, like as a gift from the blessings from the past life which comes to you. And it's like Christina, whenever I see like three or four planets conjunct together in any chart, that in itself is a heightened focus, that too much of the energy it is going in that department. And just because it is like it is Aquarius, so it has everything to do with the mystery, with the futuristic, seeing things in future, seeing things beforehand. So yes, it's a special chart, and that is the only reason, it's like, because this whole Gand Mool Nakshatra in itself, the whole today's discussion was something which is unusual. Over here, it's like more than your free will, it's the nature takes control over your life. Nature has this power to make you a medium. We say this thing, the chosen one, the selected one by the nature, by the cosmos. So Edgar Casey and all the today's discussion is devoted to that only. So you do not have to take it in this way that like if my moon nakshatra is Ashlesha and I read it somewhere in the internet that it has got this kind of reputation. No, it means you will do something which is unusual. Your gifts, your talents are going to be something special. And again, you cannot follow and go by the norms of the society. So for example, I come from a background and a family where the security is seen that being in a secure 9 to 5 IT kind of job. And see what I'm doing. Had this astrology would not have chosen me. I will not say that I choose astrology. Astrology chose me. So if
Mhm.
astrology would not have chosen me, I would have a very regular, redentary kind of life. So that's what I'm saying. Like the whole discussion today is about, and all these people like Edgar Casey and all these people which we have discussed, it's like you have got a special destiny, special purpose, and this is what you have to figure out. This is what you have to find out.
Yes, yes. This is a great way for people to kind of explore what's going on in their own charts and see, you know, if you are curious about these people, I highly recommend you look at their life story, because this is the beauty of people like Edgar Casey, where we can find some information and we can see how the chart plays out and then rectify it. Yes, this is a K2 ascendant. This is a person channeling. And another interesting part of his story is that he oftentimes during the day was living one life, a very devout Christian, right? But when he was channeling, he was giving advice of all different worship of different deities from different pantheons, you know, and he would wake up and he would say, "What?" I said, "What?" But I'm a Christian. So there's all of these different elements that might have to be reconciled in the person. But, you know, at the end of the day, when you're living in harmony with your own personal chart, every chart is beautiful, every chart is unique, every chart has its strengths. And from all of the adversities, this is why we study Jyotish, because we want to learn how to access these things. And I think this is a lot of what I got when I was thinking about these GAND MOOL Nakshatras. How do we access these things if we're feeling like maybe we don't like our nakshatras, right? So I came up with some simple remedies that, you know, anyone can try. You know, we have a diverse community of people of all religions. So you can do this based on your own level of interest, your own religious practice. You know, don't fear times of uncertainty. You know, Jyotish is a science of illumination, and it's a great opportunity to create a spiritual practice that is simple, that you can support your daily life with. Now, some remedies according to the K2 ruled nakshatras would be, you know, like you mentioned earlier, meditation on Lord Ganesh. And, you know, just imagine removing obstacles, or if you have a deity like Lord Ganesh in your style of worship or your pantheon, you know, you work with the deity that is going to remove the obstacles from your path, or maybe show you why there's an obstacle in your path, and bring some wisdom, you know, for that difficult point. And listening to or chanting K2 mantras, I find to be very helpful. And for the Buddha nakshatras, I would say writing is a really good way to channel this energy of what you want to manifest in your life, and listening to the Buddha mantra and chanting mantras of Lord Vishnu. Now, for Revati, walking by the ocean or a water body and feeding fish. Ashwini, taking a walk in nature and feeding horses. Ashlesha, taking a walk by a flowing river or the ocean and feeding of snakes. Now, if you have pet snakes, you get a bonus on that one. So you just feed your pet snakes. Otherwise, you know, if you live in India, I know a lot of times people will feed snakes, or just even, you know, be nice to snakes, because there is a lot of fear of snakes. And for the Maga people, you know, finding a comfortable chair or sitting in maybe in an heirloom chair. I've seen a lot of Maga natives have a chair that was given to them by a family member. So sitting in a special chair and meditating on the heart center is a really nice practice for Maga people. And, you know, feeding rats or mice, if you have pet mice. Jyestha, meditating with a crystal or a special amulet. I would say for Jyestha people, keep your spiritual practices a little bit more private. And then also feeding of ducks, because that is an animal associated with Jyestha. And for Mula, meditation under trees and feeding of dogs. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen there.
And for my audience, I just want to add one point over here. So guys, all the remedies has been very nicely like written by Christina, but again, those are the Tylenol. So those are like the general fever. But if the problem is of a size of a tumor, so with my folded hands, I'm requesting you, you have to do Anushthan done, because these things. See, the logic with these Gand Mool Nakshatra is that they can completely eclipse or cloud judgment and answer of a specific house. So let's say, for example, like your concern is of the childbirth, and irrespective of like you are like consistently trying from couple of years, IVF failed, everything, you being the most eligible person but still you're not able to get married, you being eligible for a political position, and things slip from your hand at the last minute. So that means the Gandamul nakshatra energy is very intense. Why we say this thing, that people who are born with the Kal Sarp yoga in their chart, they are born with these kind of yogas. So because these yogas have this power and potential to completely block those things which in a human life cycle is important. Like for example, working in a job with a slight less salary compared to the your net worth and the kind of worth you have, that is a different case. But not being able to do something and being suffering from undiagnosed kind of diseases and problem. So that means with the Gandamul nakshatra, if you are facing denial, if you are facing rejection, there has been those history, because it's a Ketu energy, it's a Mula, and she gave the reference of the fifth house. So for example, you have been repeatedly having back to back like miscarriage. So that means in this case, the remedies which we have discussed, these are good. But again, it all depends on the nature of the intensity of the suffering which you're going through. So let's say, for example, if it is in a peak way happening in your life, and so you have, again, guys, there are like certain things which can be done with the general basic Tylenol. But if the expenses and the problem is of a tumor, you need to see a specialist, spend the money, because again, planets always ask for a sacrifice. The bali, we say it in Hindi in the local language as the bali. Either you have to give the bali of the time, of the money, of the health. So you have to either you sacrifice money and you get save your time. So this is how it works. Either you keep on trying for a child for 15 years, waste your 15 years, or you do the remedy and sacrifice the money and you get it done. So again, everything comes down to getting any of those prescribed remedies done from the right source. The right source, like, and they are like some of the temples in India, if you follow the Hinduism and all the Vedic philosophy, which are prescribed in our scriptures, that for this Kal Sarp dosh problem, with this Gandamul kind of problem, this is a temple of like Kalahasti temple for the Shani problem. You need to go there, and in the temple premises, everything happens in a very legitimate, in a very proper process way. So you go the office, they will do the registration, they give you the receipt, and okay, this is the expense of this puja, 3 priests for 3 days, they will do these things. Because like they were saying this thing, for some of the Gandamul dosh nakshatra problem, so the process is so hectic that the priest has to bring the water from the 27 different water sources. He has to bring the leaves of the 27 different trees, might be found in different corners in India. So you cannot do it on your own, or he might have to. So that's what I'm saying. So again, everything is dependent on the nature and the intensity of the problem you are enduring. There are good and there are bad people everywhere. You do not have to get scammed that someone in the internet is asking you to transfer like $10,000 just to get that removal done. So you don't have to do like that. But from the right legitimate channels, like for example, Drik Panchang is one, or if you plan on going to India or any of those Vedic astrologer who is doing that in a prescribed way. So for example, we say that if a child is born with the Gandamul kind of nakshatra, so within the 27 days, because 27, why? Because the moon will keep on passing and coming back to the same nakshatra of the birth nakshatra in 27 or 28 days after crossing being in each nakshatra each day. So within 28 days, you have to get the appeasement done for that ritual. So, and generally, those charts which are very intense in this Gandamul kind of combination, you will not get the promise only coming in from one way. There might be case that moon is in the Gandamul, ascendant lord is in the 12th, 8th, ascendant lord has gone to the 8th, conjunct with Rahu Ketu, moon is in the Gandant, and majority of the planets are combust. In the D9 chart, planets are debilitated. So then it becomes very important, because otherwise all these remedies work, but again, the planets ask for sacrifice. This is what you have to believe, and everything is dependent on the nature and the intensity of the problem if you actually want to get benefited.
Yes, this is an excellent point. Something I'll say for our people in America now, I first started learning Jyotish. I thought, oh my gosh, I'll never be able to go to a Hindu temple because I'm not in India. Well, you'd be surprised actually how many Hindu temples are everywhere now in America. I mean, even in my hometown, there is a Shiva temple. And I what I'm like, wait, what? I've been a Shiva devotee. And I find out about this temple, and I only found out about it because, your awareness starts to increase when you see certain words, and you start to learn a little bit of Sanskrit. So if you're in America and you want to go to a Hindu temple, I'm sure you can even find one. If you want this to be like a goal of yours, don't feel because you're a Westerner that you can't go into these Hindu temples. I'll tell you, dealing with that myself, you just have to go in and be respectful and be reverent. And if there's anything that you can do to kind of bring your awareness to what these energies really are when it comes to the Navagrahas, is to go to a Hindu temple where they have the Navagrahas and walk around them 9 times, right? You see people do that and they don't even know why they're doing it. Most of the times people just do it. And then one time I asked this person, what are you doing? And they said, well, we're walking around the Navagrahas because this is what you do. And then when I started learning more about that, I thought this is a really beautiful practice. So even if you don't know anything about their mantras and you just want to learn about them, go into the temple, make friends with people that you can go with, take a group of people so that you can, maybe not feel intimidated and go into that temple and experience what the Navagrahas are, paying for a puja. It's not that expensive if you think about, maybe you don't go out. A lot of people spend money going out on the weekends or going out with friends. Maybe treat yourself for your birthday or for, a Tithi return. Get yourself that, Navagraha puja, or you get yourself that Sanjivani puja, or you get the Ashtachiranjeevi puja, right? Whatever you think you're looking for. And when you have these type of nakshatras, all of these remedies are given by our sages for a reason, because it's done in Native American culture as well. When you do an offering that involves fire and air and water and all of the elements, you're creating an energy force that's releasing something, but also bringing something. Like you said, so eloquently, you're going to have to give the Bali. It's better
Yeah,
you
yes, obviously,
give it,
yes. See,
right?
that's what we do, right? You get sick, either you keep on being in pain in 5, 6 days, the body will heal itself, or you have to get a medicine. You spend the money, you get the medicine, and you get fixed. So, planet will always demand sacrifice. If you're born with a karma, like Gandmoon Nakshatra in itself is not an easy thing. It's a blockage from the something done by you from the past, which is still haunting you. So that means, again, depending on the intensity of the blockage and saving your time, that's what matters, right? Everything is happening done at the right times and all. Yeah, so you have to do the remedy. There's no option. You have to sacrifice either time, either energy, or money. You have to give one thing.
Mhm. Well, that was a really enlightening discussion, Nipun. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Christina. Yeah. And yeah, after this, there is going to be for our community members, guys. There is going to be 1 or 2 more session which we will do, and after that, we will start notifying our community that there is going to be the proper paid kind of sessions on specific topic, which Christina and I, with our collaborative efforts, we will bring out to you. And if you're like in your structured journey in Vedic astrology, attending those seminars and those sessions will prove out to be very helpful for you. And yes, I'm gonna like complete this session today. I put out YouTube videos on my channel like a factory, so I have to get back to making other videos as well. So thanks a lot, guys, for watching this video, and thanks a lot, Christina, for coming and like giving your knowledge and all that research to our audience. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Namaskar.